Today we are back looking at some good old entitlement.
So, apparently, I'm entitled for asking for better accommodations when I travel. Let me break this down for you. Saying I'm entitled for that is the exact same as saying you have the right to make me uncomfortable. Here's the thing. The travel industry is built on a narrow idea of what a person should look like. But instead of fixing that, making bigger seats, more accessible options, I'm the one who's too much. Really? What's actually entitled is assuming that only certain body types deserve comfort, while I'm expected to squish myself into spaces that were never designed for me. People love to say, oh, you're just asking for special treatment. No. What I'm asking for is equal treatment, to be able to travel without feeling like I'm taking up too much space, or that I'm a burden just by existing. Why is it okay for you to have comfort, but I'm supposed to just deal with your discomfort? I'm not the problem here. You are, for thinking it's normal that I'm the one who has to compromise. What's really entitled is thinking that people like me should just quietly accept a world that wasn't made for us. We deserve better, and I'm not backing down. Sign the petition at change.org/plus-size-travel.
I will say in the comment section, a lot of people were being pretty horrible to her. Like, I actually did feel quite bad. I agree with her to a certain extent. If you've ever been in a plane, quite frankly, them seats are tiny. I understand the whole point of them having very small seats is so means they can get as many people on that plane and make as much money as possible. So I kind of agree with her with them making the seats a bit bigger. However, I feel like we have to all meet in the middle. At the end of the day, the airline companies are going to try and make as much money as possible. And for them, that just means putting as many seats on the plane as physically possible. They aren't designed for you because you're unnatural. You're not the size of an average human. I mean, yeah, that person is being honest. You know, the reality of the situation is, would it be nice if the seats were bigger? Yes. Is that going to happen? No. But even if they made them a tiny bit bigger, that would be a bit better. And this is exactly what I was talking about when people were being mean to her. Stop being fat. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Some people agree with her, some people disagree. I will say, I personally have to agree with her. You know, I think they should be a bit bigger. However, I also feel like we should meet in the middle and be realistic.
I'm genuinely terrified for this next generation of children. I decided to work at a summer camp this year, and I didn't understand the severity of the brain rot. Holy. Not only is their lingo actually terrifying, but the entitlement and genuine stupidity, and I'm sorry to call kids stupid, but like, we are not smart anymore at all, is so scary. I had kids not knowing that there were 7 continents at the age of 12. Half the kids cannot spell without asking for how to spell it or just sounding it out, which is baffling to me. And I understand that there's like some 4-year-olds that I'm like, you don't even know how to write yet, like, you're chilling. But at the age of 8 to 12, if you don't know how to spell the word exit, it's kind of scary. Next issue is the genuine entitlement that kids nowadays have. And I'm coming at this from a youngest of 5, spoiled brat, youngest daughter. Like, I got everything I wanted. I never got in trouble for and I'm saying that these kids are entitled. I had a 10-year-old boy break down, like throw a literal hissy fit for 30 minutes over one rule changing in walkie-talkie tag, being that there can be more than one person guarding the jail. It's never been like that. You're trying to make us look.
Just put him in timeout, honestly. Can't be dealing with that.
Calm down, you're 10. I had to literally Urban Dictionary so many words this year, and it's so scary. There was a point where we had coaches playing this game. It was literally flip clap, but all the coaches were playing and the kids were watching. I had 30 kids chanting live cells, and I said, what the fuck does that mean? I didn't know what I didn't know what it meant to sell. And so I asked one of the girls, I said, hey, what is lives, like, why were they chanting live cells? And they're saying, oh, you suck. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's fine. We were playing Capture the Flag the other day, and I had a kid upset with one of the calls, and he did this. He was like, dude! He was doing replay from the Euro Cup, expecting me to know what this meant. Replay. Where's the cameras? Like, where do you expect me to replay this you falling?
Are you meant to know what they're into as well?
Where do you expect that? What? Like, it's so strange. The scariest part for me is watching the girls be so overly consumed about what they look like all the time. There was a 12-year-old, I love this girl to death, but oh my gosh, every day it is something about looking ugly, looking fat, not having the right
that is quite skincare.
Or forgetting
they're 12.
Her Dior lip gloss, like pulling out makeup products out of her bag that I would not even dare to touch on expensiveness. Like, it's so I don't mean to say concerning, but like we have girls that are 10 to 12 years old really worrying about what they look like on the day-to-day while at summer camp.
What are they going to be like when they're 15,
There is
16?
not a single guy for you to impress at summer camp, girl. Like, you are 12. Let's not worry about men till we're like, never. Like, don't worry about dating people until you're like in high school, dude. You are it's just so concerning. It's so concerning. And I know that the older generation was concerned about us, but I'm like, not to be saying that we're the exception, but we were a little bit different. I'm not gonna
Oh, we
lie.
got it so
Just a little
good.
bit.
I might not look it, but I'm actually 22. However, I feel like I had a very, very good childhood. You know, I had a childhood where we didn't have technology, but then later on in my teen years, I had technology. Whenever I was about 12, 13, social media started to really pop off, which thank God social media wasn't a thing whenever I was 6 years old. You know, I had my actual childhood where I didn't have technology and I actually played with toys. I feel really bad for kids nowadays because I feel like they don't have childhood. Like, my childhood is so different to theirs and I really feel bad for them about it. They took away phonics in school. That's the first problem. The districts want teachers to teach kids how to read and write without using phonics. Everything's also online. Whenever I was in secondary school, which was quite a few years ago, we go to primary school to help out for an afternoon. They had iPads in the rooms. But that was 6 years ago and I understand back in the day we had computers. However, the kids had iPads. Even whenever I was in primary school, we didn't have iPads. You know, we didn't even really have computers. We obviously had a computer room in the school, but a lot of times we'd be reading and writing with our actual hands. I had to write a signature the other day. Keep in mind, it's the first time I've written in about 4 or 5 years because everything else is online. I had forgotten how to hold a pencil. They try to insult you, you tell them to spell it. They'll just insult you again, and their insults are different to my insults. Back when I was a kid, if you were going to insult an adult, they'd know exactly what you were saying. Nowadays, like, their insults aren't insults, they're like hidden insults. You don't know what they're actually insulting you about.
Have you seen the video of the woman who orders DoorDash and she decides that she's going to pay in cash instead of paying on the app? The woman, the DoorDash lady, comes and gives her the food and she hands over the cash and she's like, no, don't worry, keep your tip. She's like, no, take it. And she's like, no, I left you a note in your food. The woman opens the note and it says, I didn't do anything with your food this time, but next time, tip your driver. Sorry.
Oh.
So who are you? First of all, I don't know why you're expecting other people to keep your lights on at home. Go for the people that you're working for because they should be paying you more.
Yeah, that's what
It's
I
not
don't
right.
understand.
But let me show you one of our bills, right? So £543 for 4 of us. It was a great night. Delilah's, honestly, 10/10, cannot recommend enough. You first get charged an entertainment fee, £21.72. Now, you chose the entertainment. Why am I paying for it? If I'm choosing the entertainment, I should be able to select songs, right? But the burlesque dancers, Then they do included gratuity, 20%. Now, that is service charge. That should be where the deal ends. It should end there, £108.60. Now, listen, we're fine with this. We will pay this. Total tax, £55.66. Again, listen, if that's what you need, take it from me. So the balance is then £728 from 543, mind you. Then suggested tip. Now you're taking the piss. Now we did pay, and I only ever pay 18 because I think an additional £100, bearing in
That's a
mind you already
lot.
added 20% gratuity, is insane. Insanity, darling. So they end up getting basically what? I don't know how much, I can't do maths, but a lot more.
The American government, they just love to suck dry their citizens of any type of money they have. Everything's expensive, they then tax you and then they expect you to tip on top of that. Like, it's insane. Guys, what genuinely happens if you don't tip in America, they can become super hostile and refuse to serve you. It's like the Hunger Games. I kinda understand that though, but then yet again, the whole system's messed up. The waitresses shouldn't be put in a situation where they have to rely off tips to live. It's insane how their employers can literally pay them so little, and like they literally have to survive off tips. What happens if then people don't tip? They don't get any money. Additional tip on top of service charge is crazy. That's what I'm saying, like you literally just get sucked dry of any money you have. Imagine you don't have a lot of money and you've got a child and you take them out for a dinner. First of all, you're getting taxed on that, which is insane. You're also having to pay for the meal and then you're having to pay for a tip. As somebody from Northern Ireland, if you go to a restaurant and the price is on the menu, that's what you're paying. You're not paying any extra tips or any money. If you get a meal which costs £40, you're paying £40, nothing more. So instead of paying around $550, I expect you to pay $800. I mean, it's something like that, and then yet again, you have to tip them. I went skiing in America with my school quite a few years ago in Boston. I near had a mental breakdown in the shop because obviously I was looking at the prices and I bought a few things, added everything up in my head and gave the money over. The cashier woman then said to me, oh yeah, you have to pay this amount more. And it's basically due to tax. I didn't know that whenever you're in a shop in America, they add tax on. I'm not sure if that's a thing in the UK, maybe the tax is included in the original price. It's the fact that I bought stuff which added up to like $30, but then they're asking me for more money due to tax I had to pay. It's crazy that their country's so rich, yet they're milking their citizens with so much money. The tip culture in America is absolutely insane. I went to a bar in New York and a cocktail cost me me £30 and they still expect me to tip on top. And then if you get a taxi there and back, you have to tip the driver. Who do you tip and who don't you tip? That's what I want to know. I understand people who work in cafes and restaurants and taxis. Who else do you tip? And I will say, I think this culture is starting to come to the UK. I've seen a few pictures of people online at restaurants, and when they're paying, they're asking about tips. I don't think so.
So, what you're telling me is that the registers close at 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
and that you would rather me take all those groceries right there and just leave them in the cart and leave the store than to have somebody ring them out for me.
Well,
Or you could just go to
unfortunately, at the moment,
self-checkout.
We only have about, I'd say, 2 people left at self-checkout, and the rules are you can't have 1 people over there, there's a whole line. It'll be too busy.
Okay.
So, like...
Because
really-
I'm not going to sit there and go and self-checkout now.
Well, then
That's
you're not
all there
going to
is
get your
that.
stuff. That's the rules.
I mean,
It's
that's a,
pretty common
quite a
knowledge.
bit of stuff to be trying to do that,
a lot.
right? So, I mean, there's employees all over the store, right? So, what you're telling me is that Walmart just doesn't really care enough about us, their customers, in order to ring us out.
Well, no,
You'd
that's
rather
not-
us just leave
No.
than to ring us out, right?
No, I'm just saying, like...
No, I mean, it's a choice, right? Either you ring me out, or I just
well,
leave all the
I
stuff
honestly
here.
can't bring you out due to it being closed at 8 o'clock. I
Okay.
can only bring people up here if it's suspended or like some issues going on over there.
Okay,
I just want people to bring over here.
so just leave it here then.
Well, I'm
If
not
you
saying
want
leave
to.
it there. It's just sometimes it's open. But
Well, I'm not going to ring it out. That's not my job. I'm a paying customer. I came here to pay for things, right? But I didn't come here to work.
But it's not working. You're only paying after you
I never
paid.
opened the moment. I'm so sorry about that. So like,
Okay, I'll just leave it in the store. So just to give you an idea, this is their self-checkout system that obviously does not work very well because it's so slap full this late at night. Just customers everywhere because apparently they don't have enough employees to take care of their customers.
All I'm going to say is don't blame the employee, blame the company. Whenever it gets to a certain time, stores will close the checkouts. You'll just be expected to go to self-checkout, usually because there's not enough people to man both of them. And if you don't like that, then don't shop there. Self-checkout isn't too difficult. If anything, it's probably quicker. Maybe it's because he's the generation above me, but my generation, it's simple. And also sometimes it's quicker. I can just tell by the employee's face that he's done with this crap. I kind of feel bad for him because he's the one getting the blame for it when it's not his fault. He's probably being told he's not allowed to open them checkouts. Yep, his dollars are what will shut down Walmart. At what point does he think Walmart ever cared about their customers? I do sort of understand the man's frustration, however, it's not the employee's fault. If he's been told to close them checkouts, then he has to close them. And that man will have to go for the self-checkout whether he likes it or not. He probably felt so good about himself recording this and posting it like everyone would be on his side, but he's just showing how lazy and entitled he is, and it's so angering. Yet again, I can understand the man's frustration, however, what annoys me is the fact that he's taking it out on the worker. Like, it's not his fault, you know, it's not his fault that he can't open it. He's been told that whenever it gets to 8 o'clock, he can't use that till. But then, yet again, I also understand everyone's anger there because, like, the self-checkouts do look filled. But who should you blame, the company or the employee? I'm gonna say the company. I'm an a-hole for telling my mum to stop feeling entitled to know everything about my life when I purposely keep her out of it. My mother isn't someone I've had a great relationship since I can remember, which is 14 since I did block out most of my younger childhood due to some unrelated issues. Starting from 14, it's become increasingly clear that she had a child because she expects someone to love her unconditionally for simply existing. For some backstory as to how I got where I'm at, I'll provide. V made it very clear that she saw me as a personal therapist. As a child, if I had any issues at all emotionally, she would make it about her and guilt me for making her feel like a bad mother. V held me responsible for fixing her after her and my dad, who I loved dearly, got a divorce. If I didn't comfort her, she cried for hours. I was considered an awful child. If I told her I wasn't sure how to comfort her, she would say I didn't care about her. I came out as bi and she made biphobic jokes to me from 15 to now. She would feed herself 3 times a day and refuse to make me food and leave with no snacks to make myself and not allow me to get a job to buy my own food. What I'm getting from this so far is that this mother is a freak. Like, I'm sorry, this mother's a weirdo. I moved out and moved with family elsewhere who take great care of me and help me become a functioning adult. I'm healthier and in a better mindset. V calls me every now and then and guilts me for moving out and guilts me of her death because I don't want to go visit her. To be clear, I've told her I don't want to see her because of how she treated me as a child. She calls me crazy for making everything up and refuses to discuss/apologize. Now, my dad and mum had decided to become friends for an example of my dad's children and his other wife to show that exes can get along. My mum wanted me to get a phone plan of my own to put her on as she has bad credit, and at the time I hadn't developed my own credit yet, so I told her sorry, I can't open my own line. I'm gonna have to go in someone else's. I didn't tell her I was on my dad's phone plan because she doesn't pay my bills and makes me feel crap for the nice relationship I have with my dad. She also has a tendency to try and control things in my life because I don't need her and guilts me when I don't tell her about any small details, even down to what I ate for lunch last week. Somehow it slipped that I was on my dad's phone plan and she called me telling me I lied to her about being on my dad's phone plan and why I didn't tell her. Here's why I might be the a-hole. I went off on some tangent and told her not everything I do is her business. I moved away from her for a reason, it will say that way. She has no reason sticking her nose in every aspect of my life because I chose to keep her out of it. She hung up crying and complained to my dad, who said he understood but I should have worded it more kindly. I'm an a-hole for telling my mum to stop feeling entitled to know everything about my life when I purposely keep her out of it. Absolutely not. Look, at the end of the day, some parents do not let their children blossom. View your child as a flower. You know, the seed is planted into the earth and then it blooms into a beautiful flower. Sadly, some parents out there don't want their children to grow up and be adults. Even if they're adult, they'll view them as a child and still treat them like a child. And by the sounds of it, your mother's doing that. Not the a-hole. I'm glad you got away from her. She behaves in a very toxic manner. You may want to consider going no contact. Hers is not behaviour I can see changing for the better. Not providing you food was neglect, and using you as emotional support while disregarding your feelings was abuse. The mother just seems like hard work, and it's like, you know, why would you have a child if you're going to treat them like that? It just feels like she doesn't view you as a child. She doesn't view you as her daughter. Mate, you're not the a-hole. This is narcissism at its finest. Guilting you for death is disgusting. You're your own person. You have a life of your own, which is something every parent, if they're a good one, yours is not, should strive for their children to have. You being made to feel guilty for having a life outside of your mother's is absolutely ridiculous, and you 100% have been abused for so long it's become customary. This is not okay. That's why I'm saying her mum doesn't want her to grow up. It's like her mum doesn't want to lose control of her. But sadly, if the way the world is, it's gonna happen one day whether you like it or not. So are you the a-hole? Absolutely not. Your mother is just cuckoo. Well, anyways guys, we'll leave a video there. That's some entitled people. If you want to see me looking more entitlement, let me know, I definitely will. Press subscribe and see you all tomorrow for another video.